that was the big thing that stood out to me listening to this. It wasn't necessarily the melodies or the the composition of the whole song. It was the guitar. That's the first thing that really stood out to me. Like after you hear the guitar come in and let it roll, you're kind of like, okay, I got to listen to every song now to see what he's going to do and see what's going to happen. Let it roll, let it roll.
Let it roll, indeed.
What's up, Brent?
I have a feeling that you are enamored with the record we're going to be talking about tonight.
Well, I mean, I hope I'm coming off naturally and I'm not forcing it. I'm not trying to force it. That's what I should have said. I hope I'm coming off naturally, not trying to force it. Dang it. Can we start again?
I thought you were going to try and work the English accent in.
No. Maybe. We'll see what happens later on. See what happens later on. I'd love to jump into this, but I think we got a couple of things to brag about here before we get into the show.
Oh, we do. That's right.
Yeah. Absolutely,
you first.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, all right. You see this guy? This guy right here, right there. You see that? That's Bruce Springsteen, folks. Happened to see him. My lovely wife got me tickets for my birthday to go see Bruce Springsteen at the Scotiabank Arena. Man, I'm done. That's it. I can kick the bucket any day now.
Right?
Yeah.
And what you told me after the show, like that kind of blew my mind and made me extremely jealous. But what you told me, when I asked you how it was, made me like super jealous. He said,
"Yeah, what is it?"
Springsteen played "Meaning Across the River."
Yeah, he did. It was so good.
My heart just cracked a little bit when he told me that. I'm so mad that I didn't go to that.
First, I had no idea I was even going to this show. I was at work. It was Sunday night. I had to work, and then my wife was like, "You got to meet me at Union Station. We'll take an Uber to where we're going." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And she's gotten me concert tickets before, so I was like, probably going to like the Opera House, or we're going to the Danforth, or we're going to I don't know, like somewhere, right? So, but then she was like, "Okay, we'll just head down this way and we'll grab an Uber down here." I was like, "All right," and then we start walking towards the Scotiabank Arena, and then I see this guy holding like Springsteen posters, and everybody's lining up, and she's like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And I was like, you. And then so first of all, that was the first surprise, and then of course like he's playing all like he played Jungle Land, and of course he played Born to Run and Hungry Heart. He played like quite a bit of songs off of Letter to You, which for me is a fantastic album. I know it's not a classic Springsteen album, but it played that. He played Sherry Baby. Somebody requested that. Like he played some deep cuts too, and I was like, "There's no way he's gonna play Meeting Across the River." Like and I wasn't even just saying that out loud. I was like, "There's just no way that." And then he started playing it, and I looked at Karina, and I was like, "Brent, I think this is the best song on Born to Run." We're probably the only people that think that. And it was fantastic. It was so good, man. It was so good. Like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours, the guy played from start to finish.
75 years old.
75 years old.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason why they call him the boss.
He's incredible. And of course, then I went and watched his documentary Road Diary that's on Disney Plus, not to plug Disney or anything, but that was incredible because it's basically like him crafting not this show specifically, but the tour that is essentially like what he plays. So kind of got a bit of like background on that. Watched his ABC interview with like George Stephanopoulos. Like I just went down this rabbit hole again of just watching this stuff. And he said this thing. He's like the audience expects two things from you: for you to feel like family when you're there, and to be surprised. And I was like, man, It's crazy when you leave that show and you just feel like you know him and you just have this connection to him. I'm like I feel like I'm buds with the boss because I was friggin' 300 feet away from him, or 400, whatever, right? But just the experience of the show, the connection he creates with the audience and knows how to create, it's incredible.
It
was
right there.
Incredible. Yeah.
So he succeeded in his goal, right?
Yeah.
And his goal was to connect.
Yeah.
Like every good band should have that as their goal, to connect with their audience, and he does that.
Yeah.
Like no one else.
His line after mentioning those two things was, we want to change your life. And he's like, and he says it with a bit of a laugh, but he's like, but seriously, like that's what we're here to do. Yeah. I can't stop listening to the guy now. And I can't stop like just even emotionally getting invested into his music again. And, man, yeah, unbelievable.
He is a real and true icon. Bruce Springsteen is. There are like musical figures that seem like icons, but he is a real, true icon.
And even he says he's like I'm not thinking about hanging it up anytime soon. Like I'm not even close to done.
I love it.
Like he had like an ulcer. Like my uncle was supposed to go to the show in BC, but he had to cancel because he had an ulcer, a stomach ulcer, and like think that's the only thing that slowed him down outside of COVID.
Wow.
It's ridiculous because I started thinking about that too. The icon status of him. Obviously, he's been for a long time, but I just started to think about who else is around. Like he had the whole E Street Band out there. Everybody's playing.
Oh, yeah,
everybody's like vibing off of him. Weinberg is like, I've got to watch him every night. He's gonna do something. You just have to watch him and just feed off of his energy, feed off of his cues. And that's how it is every single concert. It's crazy.
And how amazing is that point right there, right? That there's no pre-recorded tracks. There's no, a lot of bands play the same set every night because it's easy and they, have pre-recorded tracks that support them.
Yeah.
There's none of that at a Springsteen show. Somebody says, hey, can you play, 10th Avenue Freeze Out? And he says, yep.
Yep.
It's organic, right? They just do it.
Stump the E Street Band is what they would call it. This is what the documentary told me. They would he would go out, he'd grab all the signs, he'd come back and he'd show them a song and be like, can you play this? Can we play it? Like, you got to know this song. Do you know that song? And to your point about the set list, 125 shows he had and no set list was the same. Obviously the songs are the same, but he builds them based on how he's feeling at that time. And so like when I heard that and I kind of thought about the music that he played and how he, obviously coming up to the election, it just felt like very much like we really need some help here.
Yes.
Just whatever. And anyways, it was just, man, yeah, so magical. It's just incredibly, like life-changing performance, man.
That's as close to magic as you're going to get musically.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
He's
I saw
the
Bob
boss.
Dylan again. My wife got me tickets to see Bob Dylan in 2017. That was cool because it was Bob Dylan. And I was like, I'm listening to Bob Dylan, but it was like, as a show, it was like he's, I think how old is he now? 125. But he was pretty old at the time. He was pretty old at the time, and it was okay. But I was more just like enamored with the fact that it was Bob Dylan I was listening to live. This was a whole other feeling from an artist of that stature. Yeah.
Oh, it's like a revival, man. It's an experience, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a show.
It's
It's life enriching. It truly is.
Yeah.
I saw him in 95, I think, around there, 95, 96 in Memphis at a place called the Pyramid. And it was actually a pyramid. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, like I'd never seen anything like that. Like the band was introduced, right? So lights go down. There's no opener. There's never an opener, I don't think.
No openers.
And like, Patan comes out and like, they're coming out Clemens, huge applause, right? All the lights are down, and then
Yeah.
you know, Weinberg comes out, and it's just it's building. There's this thing that's just graduating, right? And people are losing their minds, and they're all like, oh, and it was insane. And then Springsteen comes out at the end, and the show hadn't even bloody started yet. They didn't even play a note, and people were like exhausted already. So it was like it was
losing off the intro. Yeah.
And yeah, right. And he played for, you know, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I love him.
Oh, so good, man.
Yeah.
You know, because there's just nothing. Yes, he was very much like regimented and was like a perfectionist, is a perfectionist when he got in the studio, but he does it all for the love of the music and for the fans. And they come out and they turn this whole, like, you know, we worked really hard into having a whole ton of fun and passion and energy and just showmanship. And he's got no, like, I think that's why I feel like really close to him. I know it sounds so corny to say, but even just watching these documentaries, he just feels so real, man. Like, he just feels like such a real guy, which I know he is, but there's none of this, you know, Gene Simmons flair about him. Even Ozzy, like, you know, I know good things about Ozzy, but there's none of this uber rock star flair or feeling from him. You just feel like he's
right,
one of the guys you just hang out with. And yeah,
he's your neighbor, you know.
Yeah,
it's cutting his lawn, and you have a beer with him.
Yeah,
you know, he's just a
Freehold, New Jersey. Like, even the name of where he's from, it's just so like, this is great. This is great.
There will never ever be another Bruce Springsteen. Ever.
Can't be.
Ever.
No.
Yeah, good for you.
Thanks to my wife. I don't know. I should probably check. We probably had to take out a second mortgage to get those tickets. But I mean, hey, take out as many mortgages as we need to see the boss. So.
Oh God, worth
that. Okay. Now that I took over the first 8 minutes of the boss,
hard act to follow. But I saw a band that I had. You know, I should have seen them a lot sooner, and I kind of wasn't happy with the way that they kind of reunited and left a couple of the other guys out. But the spirit of the Black Crowes is very much alive, and I will tell you, man, they blew the bloody roof off of that place. I saw them at Casino Rama up in Aurelia.
Nice.
And they just stormed the stage, and wow. It just... They own that place, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I've only really been a fan, obviously, of Shake Your Money Maker. I wasn't a huge fan of the other two albums, but I know that seeing them live would also be incredibly cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where they thrive. You know, I'd seen them before, and they can be a jam band, and it's funny because I was there with Ackley, and Ackley said, you know, a couple of he'd never seen them before live, and he said, you know, they have a bit of a bad reputation for just jamming, right? And he said, I have a buddy who saw them in Ottawa or something, and they played like 8 songs, and they just jammed like the whole time. Like they stretched the songs into like 20-minute songs each, and I've seen them do that before. I saw them do that at Massey Hall, where they kind of it's like there's no audience there. You know, They used to do that long ago. They don't do it anymore. This set that they played was like super great. Awesome. There's a couple covers in there. They covered Moon Age Daydream. You know, I was trying to figure out. Yeah, right. As that was their one encore, and it was funny because I'm thinking, like, they went through everything, like Jealous Again, Twice as Hard. They played all the hits, and I was thinking, like, what are they gonna encore with? Because they have gone through everything. Yeah, and they played Moon Age Daydream by Bowie.
That's wild. That's insane.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
wouldn't expect that from them.
You know,
at least me, anyways.
There's a lot of, they cover a very diverse span of tunes. If you go into their catalog, you can find that they've done covers of all stripes. Like, it's just it's really cool to
Wow.
they're just music fans. They love music. They love good music. And I've been saying this for a long time, but I will say it again. They are by far the most underrated band of the last 30 years.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah. No question.
Yeah. That'd be a show, man.
You'll not be disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that. I yeah, totally. Like, again, that's like even just some of those songs, even those songs here from America and Seventh Harmony of the Seventh Son. What is it? The second musical companion. That's the one. Yeah. Southern Harmony. Like, just to hear those songs at gig, I just think they'd be great. They'd be great live for sure. Yeah,
cool. They are. Yeah, and on top of it, I got a T-shirt actually, which sorry is not down here, but I on top of it all, I got a paper ticket. You don't see.
I saw that
anymore,
two.
Right? I put it online.
That's great.
Yeah, like you don't see the paper tickets anymore, right?
I was so curious about that. I was like, how'd you get one of those? Did they sell them at the merch table? Yeah. See,
yeah, so good for us.
Look at us. Good for us. Couple of great shows. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we talking about again?
I don't know. It's funny because I was actually also going to bring up really quickly that I was reading This Now Brothers by Alex Van Halen, which has been quite a book as well. So
that's on the list for Christmas. Yeah.
Get it.
Definitely.
Get it. It's I'm almost done. I got it like 2 weeks ago, and if anybody knows me in my life, I don't have time to read, but I'm almost finished this thing. So
I can't wait to read that book. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, calls out Templeman a couple times in there. He's just like, there's a couple comments he makes to, direct towards people, and basically in some of the things that they've said in their books, he's like, you said this and you maybe thought we didn't know, but we knew. And it was just kind of these little things. So yeah, really good. Really. Yeah. I mean,
I was telling my friends the other day about that old, producer thing, and I think Templeman was in on this too, where they would get publishing by saying you should change the chorus and change the song around, add a word, get a third was the saying, right?
That's awesome. Not for the artist, but the phrase.
No,
the phrase.
I think that he partook in that area too. So
yeah, well, it's funny, right? Tried to kick Roth out early on, and then ended up being buddy with Roth in the end. So
yes, indeed.
Anyways, read it. If anybody else is out there hasn't read it, go get it. It's pretty fantastic. So all right. So we really didn't force it getting into really this. We took our time.
We were going to, and we ended up not forcing it at all.
See, no faucet.
This is a record for me that I was very fond of when I was a kid. UFO was kind of like in behind everything else, growing up in Sudbury, even when you went to the record store, UFO was behind, the Judas Priests and the Motley Crues and the Metallicas and the Aussies and all that stuff. And they didn't have an image really, there was no Eddie, there was no fire or blood. And so you just kind of had to, go on the album covers, and they were pretty. I will say though, the North American album cover did not look like that. There were not two naked people making it in the bathtub. It was all faded out.
That's what
you just saw a bunch of like taps, which didn't really get. This is a special record for me because it has a naivete and an innocence that's very much of its time. Like it's a perfect 70s English hard rock record, and it was exactly what I was looking for during that period. And I feel like records don't feel that way anymore. When you listen to this record in its entirety, it's not sophisticated. It's not Queen Sheer Heart Attack. It's simple hard rock, but it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, definitely not like sophisticated songs in full, but there's some great moments within these songs that are like, how do you think about that? Let It Roll, for example, when it just goes into this soft sort of interlude out of this wicked heavy chorus, like it's
Right.
and then bounces back into it. It's kind of like, you know, sophistication in a different sense than what was coming out at the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I kind of had this hierarchy in my head all the time of like, you know, Rush and Led Zeppelin and Queen and all that stuff. And then you kind of work your way down, which is maybe unfair for a lot of the bands, obviously. Regardless, none of that matters when you listen to this record because you really, really, really enjoy it.
Totally.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I enjoyed it too. Yeah.
I thought you would. And that's why I kind of, you know, I brought it in.
Like I hadn't listened to any of their other stuff yet. I'm going to, because I did really enjoy this record. But like 1975, you really had to come out with a good album in 75.
Yeah.
I was looking at, you know, just thinking like Born to Run, Physical Graffiti,
Right.
like a lot of the stuff coming out here is just it's crazy, you know, what you had to try and keep up with.
You know, 75 was actually interesting because Zeppelin was kind of waning at that time. Physical Graffiti was probably their last, like, really good record, in my opinion. People might think differently, but and then there was this kind of new hard rock shift that was coming in, and UFO was kind of part of that movement. They had 3 previous records to this that were kind of space rockish. So one was a UFO flying, UFO landed, I think, and then Phenomenon was a lot of people think that's the first UFO record. It's the third. It's pretty good.
Okay.
But they brought Michael Schenker in, who was in Scorpions, and he was Rudy's little brother. And he was like this guitar prodigy who was like a wizard. And he just turned everything around. So this was like their first real kind of lean, mean, hard rock record. So, you know, they were almost at the vanguard of this new movement. So that's a good point. Like in 75, you know, yeah, it was a crowded space for
you
records.
had to come out with a pretty damn good record, and it's different than all those albums. It's in the sense that it's obviously not as big and to your point sophisticated, grandiose, I think, as a lot of those albums that came out, but it held its own. When I think about it, and it has a great sound. Phil Mogg, is that anybody? Like, Moog. Yeah. Moog, like great vocals for this, like just for the band, for the sound, and the recording of the production of it is pretty. It's cool. It's good, but I really love how they brought the guitar like solos and the leads forward in the production. Yeah. So it was kind of like this stuff kind of like came out of nowhere. And just really caught you off guard. It was with the sound of the guitar and stuff. So yeah, it was it was a cool kind of standout album in that sense.
And the production of that guitar is perfect. You know, Schenker's sound is just, he was the only player in the band, or the only guitarist in the band at the time. And I mentioned this guy previously, Paul Chapman, came in later, played a little bit with him, and then left and came back after Schenker eventually quit the band. But his tone is so good. And it was just perfect. That kind of Gibson through a Marshall sound. And you know, it's funny because if you remember Accept, Balls to the Wall, we did that record.
Yep.
Like the best guitar production, you know, that I can think of. Scorpions, same thing. Just crunchy sustain. And it's just like heavenly to listen to if you love that sound. You know? Yeah. But same thing here, just amazing guitar sound.
I think what I really liked about the guitar sound is it wasn't like overly processed. It really was just a guitar, like I think to your point of like just through an amplifier. And that's what that's kind of what the feeling of the guitar sound is, and the sound of the guitar is. It's not a bunch of pedals. It's not a whole bunch of effects. It's really just turn it up to 11 and there you go.
There was again, like the simplicity, almost, it's like less is more, right? I said in one of my books, he just reminded me of something, you know, people try to replicate other people's sounds all the time. And like, there's this tone chaser thing going on. But I said that like AC/DC, like Angus Young didn't have, you know, an Angus Young S2000 kind of pedal, right?
Right.
He had an amp and a guitar and maybe he fooled around with it. Maybe he modded some stuff, but just the simplicity will always rule out. I think it'll always prevail for me. I just love that simple crunch.
Or finding your tone, and just briefly, like that's what Alex Van Halen was saying about Eddie was, he would have his pedal boards would basically be pedals duct taped to plywood, right. And guitarists would laugh at him, and then they'd hear him play, and they'd come up to him and be like, "Can I play your guitar with your pedal board?" Like, you know, and then you know, Edward will tell you too, right? He's like, or would have told you, nobody can get that. It doesn't matter if you play with my gear. My sound is my sound, and that was the big thing they prided themselves on. And Schenker has a sound. This sounds great. This guitar sounds fantastic all throughout this album.
Oh yeah, my favorite thing about Schenker is that he's a unique player in the sense that his note choice is very distinct. Like, and what I mean by that, when you listen to a solo, and I hate to say this about Angus Young, and you know, Jimmy Page and those types of players that are blues-based players, you kind of know what you're going to hear, right? But when you listen to, and Rhodes was like this, Randy Rhoads was like this a little bit. The solo is going and you're not really sure what you're going to hear. And you hear some very unique note choice melodies in there. And I've always loved that about Michael Schenker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all over this record. Totally. That kind of a feeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we get into it. Should we go through some of these? I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on all of them either, folks. I don't think we'll be here for an hour and a half or anything. No. But Let It Roll is a great opener. That, like I said, that transition is it's great. The guitar, the harmonies, like it's skin vibrating, man. It's great.
It is for sure. Song. It's a stormer. Yeah. Great way to kick off the record.
Yeah, totally. And Shoot's a great follow up too. It's a good catchy chorus, fun. Yeah.
You know what the cool thing about Shoot is like it starts in a certain way, which is good, and then this crazy riff comes in. Do 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 do. You know that riff? It's almost like Schenker's like, hey, he's like showing off. He's like, check this out. I have another riff. Here's another one. Here's another one. Uh-huh. He does that through a lot of these songs, and it's almost like it's like Kill 'Em All. Remember Kill 'Em All, Metallica? I don't know if you've heard that record. I'm sure we haven't done another show, but
I didn't listen to it.
Every one of those songs has like 4 riffs in it, so it's like 4 songs in one. And it's funny because you think that as a writer, you'd say, okay, I'm going to, put this aside and I'll write a song around it later.
Yeah.
But it's like he was just full of this stuff, and he just kind of, it's like cool riff after cool riff after cool riff.
Didn't know what to do with it except for put it on everywhere he could. Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favorite riffs in Shoot Shoot. That do 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 do.
High Flyer, odd number 3. But it's a good tune.
You know what? It's for me. It's not just because it seems like a single option, and this was right around. Maybe it was a little bit early in '75, but I want to say that when you in the '80s think about like Cinderella night songs, the ballad was always number 3, right? Nobody's Fool was the number 3 spot. So the formula basically was Stormer for number 1. Maybe a potential single for number 2, but also like an upbeat tune. And then number 3 was kind of like, okay, here's the single. And oftentimes it was the ballad. So it's the same formula here.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Love the song.
Me too.
I love it. It is like, I don't know, man.
Isn't it just like, you see, I can tell that you get this too. You get the same thing that I get this from this guitar, this acoustic guitar line. It's very kind of wistful.
Yep.
And it's like, it's very sentimental, right? It's simple, but it's so beautiful.
It is instantly nostalgic. It automatically just sets you back somewhere, like, I guess that's what a ballad's meant to do. But this one for me, it just felt like very reminiscent of something.
What you just said like really blows my mind, because I, being the age that I am, feel that way because I heard this, in the 80s, and I kind of felt that way, but I really, really feel that way now.
Yeah.
But you're 20 years younger than me, and you feel that after hearing this now in your 30s.
Yeah.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah. I just, I guess I got to listen to more nowadays music, but I don't hear, you never hear this kind of stuff nowadays. So I feel like it's tough to really feel that without going back. Going back.
Yeah, rock and rollers drift by, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I like I said at the top of the show, records don't feel like this anymore.
No, they don't. They don't feel like it costs $65,000 to record it out. They just don't feel that way anymore.
Auto-tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guitar solo tone as well, like when that just comes in out of nowhere as well. It's just like,
oh yeah, that little melody that he plays right at the end of the solo.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like a kind of a little. It's a cool little melody that's just like it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And it's like a little wink, right? That you just go, oh.
Schenker. What? Okay, so just real quick here. So the other guys that formed the band, the band broke up, and then they wanted to go back and play as UFO, but they had to get Schenker's permission to be called UFO again. What? Do you know about that? Like,
no, I didn't know that.
It was something that
were they talking about? 85?
No, I think like maybe 97 or 2002. Wow. Like yeah, it was something like that. I feel like he kind of he must have somehow took over in some way, or somehow in the contract it came down to like, well, we got to get permission from Schenker to come back and be called UFO again.
I don't know, because they had a guitar player. I think his last name was Bolton or something for like the first three records, and then Bolton. They were like a space rock band. They did like
that's right,
and then they brought Schenker in. The Schenker I think was like 19 or 20 at the time. He was in Scorpions, but he left because he wanted to come. He was in his brother's shadow, so he wanted to go and prove himself.
Right.
But I don't like he left. I think Schenker left to go solo. He formed a group called Michael Schenker Group, and released a couple of really good records, Built to Destroy and Assault Attack. And UFO continued, but then they disbanded and got together again in 85, I believe.
Right.
So I don't know. I've never heard that story. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that Phil Mogg, Andy Parker, and Pete Way, those were like the original guys with that guitarist Mick Bolton.
Yep.
And they did that, and they had Hocus Pocus as well before this.
Oh, really?
And then brought in Schenker, obviously for what, 74 they brought him in? Was that, or was it this one?
74 for Phenomena.
Yeah. But I just thought, okay, I don't know. It was just odd. That's what I had read, but anyway.
I don't know.
Anyways, if it hasn't come up on the bottom, we were wrong. I was wrong. I shouldn't throw you into that. I won't throw you. I won't loop you into that.
Don't drag me into your misinformation.
I got it off Facebook, man. All right. It was right after you fill up your truck with gas at the Morning Post.
Alex's consumer reporting tips. Forgot about that.
Love, lost love.
There you go. Groupies, a groupie song.
What is that?
It's about groupies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
Go on.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, no, I do like the lead. The lead off the top is cool, but yeah, ultimately it doesn't wow me like some of the other ones. But it's it's fine.
No, it's not a wow song.
It's not a wow song. No. Out in the street.
I like that piano intro. It's nice, eh?
You know what I thought could have broken into?
Wait. I want to think about this for a second.
There's a song that I could have sworn it was going to break into.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it could break into.
Is it a Bob Seger song?
No. Although, no. But it is just a person's name,
Oh,
followed
really?
by band,
Followed by a band?
followed by the word band. Yeah,
Oh. No, go ahead. What is it?
it's a song that's come up a few times. Swingtown. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Swingtown. Like, I feel like in that piano part, like you could almost hear.
Really? Oh, wow.
I just feel like it could come in after the piano or during the piano.
You know, you're right.
If anything,
It's kind of
Yeah.
the same tempo, and it kind of moves around the same way.
a little bit. Just the piano. I'm not saying that it's like, note for note the same or
No,
anything, but it just.
I
like
love that you make associations like that, because I could do that like all week long. Seriously.
Yeah.
I love
It's
that.
just-
I'm fascinated by that, right? Like
Yeah.
why you think this sounds like that. And then I kind of go through it and go, no, I don't hear it. But then I go, oh,
Yeah,
wow, I do hear it. And I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Totally. I get that. You're right.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And it's come up a few times now in the last, couple of Ozzy episodes. And,
Good Lord. We're
Steve
milking it.
Miller.
Swingtown.
Swingtown, baby. It's influenced so many songs. I love Out in the Street. This might be I think this is my favorite song on the album. Just everywhere.
wow.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Big tune. Love it.
It is great. I love the piano intro. It's a guy named, what's his name? It's a totally, it's like it's Chick Churchill. That's his name. He's yeah, Chick.
Sick.
Chick Churchill.
Yeah.
He was like a keyboard player, and they brought him in. He was from the band 10 years after. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll listen
nice
to them
player.
10 years after this episode.
Chicky Churchill.
Chicky Churchill.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great, man. Right. Keys are great. Vocal coming in is super strong. I think this is probably the best song that Phil Moggs sings.
Wow.
It's yeah, no?
No,
I just feel like
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm just like super preoccupied with Schenker all the time. Maybe
He's
a little
great
bit
in
too
this.
much.
Oh my goodness, I know, but like that break into like the solo and then the guitar, the and then the solo over top, and you're just like,
Isn't it?
where
Like,
did
so
this
good.
song go to? It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
It is
Love
awesome.
this song. This is going on the my good hangs playlist.
Oh,
for
nice.
sure. Yeah. Mother Mary,
Favorite song on the record.
this is yours. You know what? I had a feeling it was either this or Too Much of Nothing because of the heaviness of it.
Oh, that stuttering riff.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
And then they
it
change
is good.
that, right? Schenker does. Like it stutters, da, 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 but then it goes da, 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 da. It's just, I sound like such a nerd, like making all those noises, but like I am so enthralled when I hear this music.
Yeah.
Man.
This is good music. This is good and just like, under the radar stuff. Like 1975. It would have been tough to like unless you were a UFO fan.
That's what I mean. Like some people have not heard of UFO. So I say to UFO, I'll say UFO and they'll be like, who? People to this day, people don't know who the band is. But that's the magic of this show, right? Is that you can bring Blackfoot and UFO onto the show and people are like, wow, where was this?
I had no idea about UFO until you said it last week. So yeah, great
So
point. I mean, now that should come as a surprise to anybody, but
had you not heard of UFO either?
I don't. I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't say I've never heard of them, but I'd never heard a song by them. Maybe I've heard the band name UFO, but it wasn't like that. They would have had Michael Schenker as a guitar player and sounding like this and keeping up with the bands that they had to for this year anyways. So,
Yeah. Unbelievable guitar solo in the song too.
yeah.
Just a tour de force from Schenker. Not to the same degree, but this is Schenker's record too. The songs are really good. But I feel like Schenker is kind of the star of this record.
Totally. I mean, I was reading some of the lyrics. I was kind of like, the writing's okay. It's nothing like super spectacular, and did its job. But yeah, like listening to it from a guitar, like that was the big thing that stood out to me listening to this. It wasn't necessarily the melodies or the the composition of the whole song. It was the guitar. That's the first thing that really stood out to me when listening through all these songs. So in each song, right, I was always kind of like after you hear the guitar come in and let it roll, you're kind of like, okay, I got to listen to every song now to see what he's going to do and see what's going to happen.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's so great. I like that.
Too much of nothing. What do you think of that? You like this one?
Yeah, it's I like it. I don't, it's not a wow song again. This is Pete Way, the bass player, wrote this song, I think. Like entirely by himself, because most of these are Schenker and Moog writing these, but Pete Way, I think, brought this in. It was his own composition. It's okay. Nice. It's not bad.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy this one. The verse is it's okay, like lyric, like melodically in the verse, but it's the back end, like the drums and the guitar line, like that back and forth. Like it's just kind of this really great way to go through to the end of the song. Yeah. Catchy chorus, but that back half of the song is really where like the drums, like it's great.
That's tough because Schenker, as you know, I was just saying, gets so much of the spotlight, deservedly. But Andy Parker, who's the drummer, and Pete Way, the bass player, form a damn good rhythm section as well. And in 70s British hard rock, they were revered as such. Yeah,
I believe that. Yeah. Well, Pete Way, he would go on to do. Yeah, he toured with Ozzy, right, for Diary of Madman's
tour. Is that him? So well, he did briefly. Yeah, there was
briefly, right? Yeah.
Don Costa was in there. The Phil Susan. There was like later on.
That's right. He was recycling people like plastic. That's for sure. That's fair.
There was all kinds of dudes going through there. But Pete Way, after UFO broke up, had a band called Wasted. WAY.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. I can't remember. I should know this, but I can't remember who the guitar player was. But it's a really good record, actually. Good 80s hard rock record.
Eddie Clark.
Fast Eddie Clark. That's right.
Fast Eddie Clark.
So who used to play in Motorhead and also played in a band called Fast Way with Pete Way. There you go. So there you go. So
to form Fast Way with Fast Eddie Clark. And,
wait, I'm wrong then. On the Wasted record, who is the guitar player?
Yeah, I don't think it's Muir, Paul Raymond, Frank Noon, and Ronnie Cafield.
Yeah, see, it wasn't
idea who any of these
Fast
guys
Eddie
are.
Clark.
Yeah,
Fast Way was a great band. They had two really good records.
But quickly, what was Ozzy Osbourne's daughter's name?
Jolly.
Oh, nice.
Which one?
He wants
Lewis.
Lewis. Little Steven. Yeah, it's these guys all had some crazy side projects and projects they wouldn't play it on though. Like they all went and did something after or during or before or whatever. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
How many projects they all did have going at one point. But anyways, Too Much of Nothing, good tune. Dance Your Life Away. Love this riff, the opening riff, guitar and the drum. Yeah,
I like it too. It's really cool. It's different from something like Mother Mary or Let It Roll, but it's kind of funky and it adds a little bit of dimension.
Yeah. 3.5 minutes. I was over it at about a minute and a half, but it's fine.
Yeah, good solo again.
So I mean, right. I mean, I guess the thing, right? Like you're just now at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, cool verse, great. What's the guitar solo gonna be?
I know. See, that's what I mean. That's my fixation.
Yeah. And he just nails it, man. Like I'm listening to this and I'm like, the way he's playing is like how I pretend to like air guitar,
Right.
but he's actually playing properly.
See, that's a really good point, right? When you play like an air guitar solo, like as a kid or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
those are the solos that you hear in your head.
Absolutely.
When you're doing that, right?
And then you pick up a real guitar and you're like, it's not making the sounds that I thought that doing this was going to make. But he's doing it because you listen to it and you're like, there's no way. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
So good.
It's good.
It's called Mad Michael Schenker.
Mad Michael Schenker.
Mad Michael.
Schenker the Canker. All right. This kid's between the walls.
This is kind of a Frankenstein tune, right? So
It is 100%.
This kid's, it's okay. Like it's kind of a strange song for me, but then Between the Walls, I think is a Schenker composition. It's like an instrumental tacked onto it.
Yeah.
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 Which is good.
It's good. It's good. I do like that. I think it's a nice way to end the album. I think I loved it. I love listening to these albums from the 70s just to hear what their last song is going to be. Jungle Land, for example.
Oh,
right? Like when you go,
what a closer.
like, I feel like that was the one thing that a lot of these albums from the 70s really had going for them was that, well, like not necessarily that all the way through they were impeccable. Obviously, Born to Run all the way through is impeccable. But are we still talking about Springsteen? But like at least I know with these albums, I'm kind of like, what's the last song going to be? What are they going to do with the Diary of a Madman, right? What is the last song going to be, and how is that going to, send this thing off and allow me to restart the album?
I think there was a much more focus on that during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, here's the big send off.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 80s, that wasn't really the case. You just it was an okay song, but you front loaded everything because you wanted, it was more about selling records. And this, I guess it was in the 70s too, but it was just a different way of looking at it. So in the 80s, all the good songs got kind of pushed up, so you'd hear them right away. But in the 70s, they kind of took their time and spread things out a little bit, but they always closed with something really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I appreciate about the ending of this album.
One peculiar thing about this record is the fade outs of the songs. Did you notice that?
I didn't focus on the fade outs. Damn it.
Well, it's just the high flyer, right? So just that beautiful guitar line. You'd expect that composition just to finish with that last note ringing out, right? The root note of it. But it fades. And I'm like, I kind of feel a little bit ripped off that it fades out. You know what I mean? Shoot's the same thing. It's kind of weird because it's got that really cool riff, do 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 do, and it could just end like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something cool like that. But it fades out. It's just kind of bizarre. I would have not done that.
Fade outs. Tom Petty said it. The song keeps going. It just means the song keeps going.
That's a good point, but maybe he produced this record.
Sometimes, no, it was Leo Lyons. We know that, but it's it's interesting. I should go take a listen to that and see.
Yeah, see, with Between the Walls, it works because it's at the end and it's kind of like this instrumental that like is perpetual, which is cool
for sure.
But for Shoot and High Flyer, I would have not done that.
Well, that's why I'm going to give this album a 4.5. I'm not going to go a full 5 on it. I might even be closer to like 4.3-ish as well. Like I really liked it. Yeah, I liked it, but there were just other little things in this like that I kind of got bored of the songs a little bit. I looked forward to the solos. I thought the solos were great, but ultimately it just kind of felt like the songs just kind of were meh in general, but at the same time, really good hard rock and roll, like enjoyable, just not like. Sorry about that. But just not. I don't know. There was something missing still from this. So and maybe it's your point about the sophistication or this whole idea of that kind of an album. But I don't know.
Yeah, so just maybe there is some truth to that then, because I do feel the same way, but I don't know. I don't really hold it to those standards just because it kind of tweaks me emotionally. You know what I mean? Like High Flyers.
And that's fair. That's fair. And that's not what I'm like saying. But there's something that I'm just like, it's good. it's good. I clearly praised a lot of this album. There was always just something I feel like not like setting me over the top, with the songs. But
like it's an album,
great,
right?
great songs. This is great. This is great.
Okay.
4.3 to 4.5. Great. Yeah.
5. Okay.
Yeah. 4.5. So yeah, man. UFO.
Good. So you like UFO though? So,
Yeah. You know what? Sure. There you go.
They had, Schenker stuck around for a little while. They had Obsession. They had Lights Out.
Okay.
They had Strangers in the Night. I think it's called Strangers in the Night.
In the night, all night, all. No, more Springsteen. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah. So great records.
Cool.
So we can either do one of those, or we can do Blindcount with Klaus Meine from Scorpions.
Bring them back. Let's give them another shot. And we'll bring them Blackout. Sure.
Blackout.
Our friends at Hypnosis, who do the album covers for everybody during this time, did the album cover for Force It. They did the album cover for Love Drive. They probably did the album cover for Blackout. They did the album cover for House of the Holy. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. Everybody. So, cool. Great. All right, Blackout. Let's do it. Let's get back into some Scorpions.
All right. Sprechen Sie Deutsch, Alex?
Gracias. 9. 9, Brent.
9, there you go.
9, Brent.
9.
Oh, gosh. Great. Cool. Great, man. Right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging in there. Thanks for letting us talk about our concerts all that. So it's great. If you saw anything, let us know. Pretty sure Rennie sees a whole bunch of great shows working at the Sphere. He works at the Sphere. I'm pretty sure he says he works at the Sphere. I'm kind of going off. Yeah, the security guard. I bet Rennie's jacked. I bet if we ever did a live show, like a touring live show, we should hire Rennie as our security detail.
Done.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd do it pro bono, and that's just not being a fan of you too.
Good night, Alex.
I forced that one.